Okay, so this is a video explaining what we are doing with our reading this week. So this week we're going to focus on summaries still, because I'm really impressed with a lot of the summaries, and we're getting really good at that, so we'll keep focusing on that. And this week we're going to focus on some cause and effect in the books and in the events. So we looked at characters last week through the stories. Now we're looking at some of the events and how the events actually happen in the story. So we'll go through that a bit later on. But the book that we're reading is The First Hippo on the Moon by David Walliams. So David Walliams presents The First Hippo on the Moon. It's based on a true story, by the way. So this is a tale of two hippos with one dream: to be the very first hippo on the moon. One enormously rich hippo, Hercules Waldorf Franklin III, paid for a gigantic hippo space centre to be built to blast him there. There's Hercules thinking he's all good and mighty. Sheila didn't. Yes, the other hippopotamus's name was Sheila. One morning she announced, "I want to be the first hippo on the moon." "But Sheila," said her giraffe friend, "you don't have a space rocket." "Then we'll make one, Keith," Sheila replied. Yes, the giraffe's name was Keith. Us hippos like to dream big. Sheila's friends got to work building her a rocket. "Quick, as you can." "Well, you could help me, dear." There's a porcupines having a bit of an argument. Tina, the elephant, brought back the biggest tree trunk she could find. Joyce, the gorilla, fetched the longest vine. And Derek, the ostrich, was given the task of gathering the pongiest mountain of rhinoceros dung. After many days and nights, the animals finally unveiled their space rocket. Ta-da! Well, something that looked a bit like a space rocket, a tiny bit. "Thank you, friends, it's my very own Hippo-po rocket." All they needed to do now was ignite the rhino dung and blast Sheila into space. But how? "Try rubbing those two spiky thingamybobs together to create a spark," instructed the hippopotamus. "Well, thank you very much, dear." Looks like the porcupines aren't real happy with that. "Okay, let's go," Sheila announced. "Is your bottom hot too?" "Boiling, dear." Well, obviously they did use the porcupines to start the fire. "Dream big, everyone. 3, 2, 1. Blast!" But before Sheila could say off, it started raining. It rained and rained and rained. It was rainy season. It didn't stop raining for 5 long months. The moment the rain stopped, Sheila began her countdown again. 3, 2, 1, blast off! The Hippo-po rocket shot up into the sky. The hippopotamus watched as the earth became smaller and smaller, and the moon became bigger and bigger. But in deep space, disaster struck. Sheila was so busy munching on her shrub sandwiches that she didn't spot what was hurtling towards her. A giant asteroid. The Hippo-po rocket smashed into hundreds of pieces, sending the shocked hippopotamus spinning wildly through space. She tumbled towards the moon. To her astonishment, Sheila had landed on top of the other hippopotamus, just as he was taking his very first Hippo-po step on the moon surface. "I am terribly sorry." "Excuse me? What on earth? I mean, the moon are you doing here?" "I, wanted to be the first hippopotamus on the moon." "Well, you're not. I am. Hercules Waldorf Franklin III. Remember that name. The name of the very first hippopotamus on the moon." Can't we both be the first hippopotamuses on the moon? No! Just look at you. Call yourself a hippo-astronaut. You don't even have a hippo spacesuit or a hippo buggy. Get back in the hippo rocket and buzz off. Now. With a tear in her eye, Sheila trudged off to the hippo rocket. Her big dream had been crushed. As the engines roared, Hercules Waldorf Franklin III bounded towards it. Stop! That's my hippo rocket. Oops. Sorry. Blast off. Seconds later, Sheila realised that she didn't have a clue how the hippo rocket worked. Entering the Earth's atmosphere, the hippo rocket soon began burning up. Within moments, the hippopotamus bottom was blazing like the sun. Sheila hit the earth with a giant whoop. She lay motionless on the ground, her beautiful behind sizzling like a sausage. Sheila! Wake up! Oh, it's sad, isn't it? But she wouldn't wake up. This was the saddest day the jungle had ever seen. Then out of the silence came a sound. The distinctive sound of a bottom burp. All the animals stared at each other. Who would dream of letting one go at such a sad time? Another one, longer and louder than the first. It was Sheila. What's that awful smell? The hippo was so thunderous she woke herself up. Try and breathe through your mouth, dear. Oh, it's made my eyes water. Poor porcupines, they're not having a good run. Now Sheila was famous all over the world as the very first hippopotamus on the moon. So yeah, she's taken down Mr. Hercules. She never mentioned the other hippopotamus who got there first. Not fair. So whatever you do, please don't tell anyone. Okay, so that's the story we're going to be working our example of. So the first hippopotamus on the moon. Now this week, as I said, we're going to focus on cause and effect as well as continuing to reinforce our summaries. Now the importance of knowing cause and effect is how the story is written and certain things are put in there to change the events of the story. Okay, so that's why we're going to focus on cause and effect this week. So here's the example that I've already written up there, so you didn't have to watch me write. So, for example, I've got my title there, The First Hippo on the Moon. Now, the best way to understand the cause and effect is it's basically most of because. So, because this happened, then there was another event that happened afterwards. Okay? Because it started to rain, for example, the ground got wet. So, the cause was it started raining, and the effect was the ground got wet. So we're going to find some cause and effects in the book that change throughout with the events. Okay? So, what we have here, the first one, cause. Because it started to rain, the effect was Sheila's rocket was delayed. Okay? So, because they put that into the story, that changed the story because it sort of had an effect on what Sheila was doing. Second one, because Sheila was not looking very well, the effect was crashing into an asteroid and her rocket being destroyed. Okay, so they put that in there. Once again, that's another event in the story. Because Sheila was too busy munching on her sandwiches, she didn't see the asteroid and she crashed into it and her rocket was destroyed. That's a pretty big event to happen in the story. And the third, because Hercules was mean to Sheila, he ended up being stuck on the moon and Sheila was recognised as the first hippo on the moon. Okay, so we're focusing on just three cause and effects in the story. So this event, this event, this event. So because this happened, this is how it turned out. So maybe if it hadn't started to rain, would Sheila have been the first one in space? Okay, so they're all the things, and we probably move on that later on in our learning, of sort of thinking, well, what could possibly have happened if things didn't happen. But at the moment, we're just focusing on purely events. Because this happened, this is what happened afterwards. Okay? And then we're focusing on a summary. So 2 hippos were trying to be the first to the moon. One had money, the other had friends. They both built a rocket and got to the moon. Unfortunately, only one hippo made it back and became famous. That hippo was Sheila. Okay, so there's my summary. The who, the what, the where, and all that kind of thing. So as I said, the new learning for this week is focusing on the cause and effect, because it's understanding more about why things are in stories and what causes things to change in stories. So hopefully we can do that this week and have a good reading for this week. Thank you.